Myrtles Plantation, America's most haunted house, Detective James? I asked. Unexplained case files. Good evening. I'm Detective James Miller, badge number 4721, with the State Bureau of Investigation's Special Documentation Division. For 32 years, I've been cataloging America's unexplained incidents, the cases that defy conventional explanation. Tonight, I'm opening one of the most disturbing files in our collection. Case File Louisiana 1796 MPH, the Myrtles Plantation. What you're about to hear comes from witness testimonies, historical records, and my own investigation into what many consider America's most haunted house. As always, I present the facts as documented. What you choose to believe, that's entirely up to you. The file before me contains photographs, EVP recordings, witness statements, and historical documents spanning over 2 centuries. The Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana, stands as perhaps the most documented case of persistent paranormal activity in American history. According to the official record, 12 distinct entities haunt this antebellum mansion. 12 souls unable or unwilling to leave. But one name appears more frequently than all others in these reports. A slave woman known simply as Chloe. Her story is where we begin. Case File Louisiana 1796 MPH, date of initial report 1796. Status unexplained. If you have a story, drop a comment below and subscribe to the channel. The Myrtles Plantation sits approximately 30 miles northwest of Baton Rouge in West Feliciana Parish. Built in 1796 by General David Bradford, this 10-acre property was originally called Laurel Grove. The main house, constructed in the southern antebellum style, features a 125-foot veranda, hand-painted stained glass, and ornate interior woodwork, typical of wealthy plantations of that era. My initial involvement with this case came in April 2018, when the Bureau received multiple reports of increasingly frequent paranormal events at the property, which now operates as a bed and breakfast. The current owners requested our assistance following a series of incidents that had driven away both staff and guests. Upon arrival, I conducted a preliminary historical review. The plantation changed hands several times throughout the 19th century, eventually coming into the possession of Judge Clark Woodruff following Bradford's death. This is where the most significant incident in the property's haunted history allegedly occurred. According to local legend, Judge Woodruff owned a slave named Chloe. Multiple historical accounts suggest Woodruff took Chloe as his mistress, though documentary evidence of this relationship remains inconclusive. What follows appears in various forms across multiple historical records and witness accounts. In 1823, after allegedly being caught eavesdropping on the judge's private conversations, Chloe had her ear cut off as punishment. Forced to wear a green turban to hide her disfigurement, she reportedly sought revenge by poisoning a birthday cake with oleander leaves. Her intended target was Judge Woodruff, but instead, his wife Sarah and 2 daughters consumed the poisoned cake and died. The other slaves, fearing collective punishment, allegedly hanged Chloe from a nearby tree and disposed of her body in the Mississippi River. That's the legend. But as with many such tales, separating historical fact from folklore presents significant challenges. Parish death records from the period are incomplete, and no official documentation of a slave named Chloe exists in the plantation's surviving records. Nevertheless, the reported paranormal activity at Myrtles Plantation centers predominantly around this narrative. During my initial visit in 2018, I interviewed Frances Kermeen, who owned the plantation from 1979 to 1992. Kermeen's testimony appears particularly credible given her initial skepticism regarding the property's haunted reputation. Interview transcript. Francis Kermeen, April 15th, 2018. I asked, Miss Kermeen, could you describe your first experiences with unexplained phenomena at the plantation? Kermeen replied, I didn't believe in ghosts when I bought Myrtles. I thought the stories were just good for business. Then things started happening that I couldn't explain. It began with footsteps, heavy boots walking across the upper gallery when no one was there. Then objects moving on their own, furniture rearranged overnight, a heavy crystal water pitcher that would relocate itself from the dining room to the foyer, consistently, even when I was alone in the house. I asked, did you ever witness any apparitions directly? Kermeen replied, 17 times. I counted. The most frequent was a young black woman in a green turban and flowing dress. She would appear in doorways, usually between rooms, and then vanish when approached. The strangest incident happened during a dinner party. I had 8 guests, all seated at the dining table. The woman in the green turban appeared behind one of my guests, visible to everyone in the room. She leaned forward as if listening to our conversation, then straightened up and walked through the wall. 3 of my guests left immediately. They wouldn't even stay to finish dinner. I asked, was there ever any physical interaction with this entity? Kermeen replied, once. I was in bed reading. I felt someone sit on the edge of the mattress. It depressed, like a real person's weight. I looked up, and she was there, watching me. I could see through her, but she wasn't completely transparent. She reached out and touched my hand. It felt like being brushed with ice. Then she whispered something I couldn't understand and faded away. I couldn't sleep in that room for weeks afterward. Kermeen's testimony aligns with over 40 similar accounts I collected from former employees, guests, and subsequent owners. The woman in the green turban, presumed to be Chloe, appears consistently in these reports, though descriptions of her behavior vary. Some witnesses describe her as menacing, others as melancholy or simply observant. Several guests reported waking to find her standing at the foot of their beds. 2 separate accounts describe her appearing to check on sleeping children during the night. But Chloe isn't the only reported presence at Myrtles Plantation. In 1927, caretaker Mary Dickinson reported encounters with what she described as a little girl in a fancy white dress, appearing in mirrors throughout the house. This apparition has been reported consistently for nearly a century, often seen floating between rooms or peering from windows on the upper floor. Historical records indicate that one of Judge Woodruff's daughters was approximately 9 years old at the time of her alleged poisoning, leading to speculation that this entity may be one of Chloe's unintended victims. During my 2018 investigation, I deployed standard equipment throughout the property: infrared cameras, digital audio recorders, electromagnetic field detectors, and temperature sensors. Over a 3-night observation period, we documented numerous anomalies. Audio recording, April 17, 2018, 2:37 a.m., main staircase. Audio analysis revealed no conventional explanation for these sounds. The property was secured, alarm systems were active, and our team maintained position accountability throughout the recording period. What you just heard occurred while the building was verifiably empty, except for our investigators, all of whom were in different locations when this audio was captured. Even more compelling evidence emerged from our photographic documentation. The most famous photograph in our file, labeled the Chloe photograph, was actually taken in 1992 by a past owner. It appears to show a figure standing between 2 buildings on the property. Photographic experts from our forensic division have analyzed this image extensively and found no evidence of manipulation or double exposure. The figure in the image appears to be wearing period-appropriate clothing consistent with descriptions of Chloe, including what could be interpreted as a head covering or turban. During our 2018 investigation, we captured another remarkable image. At 3:42 a.m. on April 18th, an infrared camera positioned in the main hallway recorded what appears to be a semi-transparent female figure moving from the former children's bedroom toward the staircase. The figure is approximately 5 feet tall and dressed in what appears to be antebellum-era clothing. Notably, the temperature sensors in that area recorded a sudden 12-degree drop that coincided exactly with the apparition's appearance. Beyond visual and auditory phenomena, physical interactions with unseen forces are frequently reported at Myrtles Plantation. During my investigation, I documented multiple instances of unexplained physical effects. A heavy crystal chandelier in the dining room that swings in the absence of drafts or air movement. Doors that unlock and open themselves, even after being secured. The piano in the women's parlor that plays by itself, typically a few notes at a time. Children's handprints that appear on mirrors after they've been cleaned. The unexplained smell of freshly baked cake that permeates the dining room on certain days. Perhaps most disturbing are the accounts of physical contact. 12 separate witness statements describe being touched by unseen hands. 3 guests reported being forcefully pushed on the staircase. One maintenance worker in 2015 claimed to have been scratched across the back while replacing floorboards in what was once the kitchen, where Chloe allegedly prepared the poisoned cake. A particularly compelling incident occurred in 2001, documented by then-owner Tita Moss. During a renovation of the former children's bedroom, workers discovered a small cloth pouch sealed in the wall. The pouch contained what appeared to be human teeth, hair, and bone fragments along with herbs and soil, consistent with a 19th century voodoo gree-gree, or protective charm. According to Moss's statement, paranormal activity increased dramatically after this item was removed from the wall. Electronic devices malfunctioned, tools disappeared and reappeared in different locations, and one worker was hospitalized after falling from a ladder, after reportedly seeing a black woman with no ear standing beside him. Laboratory analysis of the pouch's contents confirmed the biological materials were human in origin, and approximately 150–200 years old. The pouch was eventually returned to its place in the wall, after which the disruptions allegedly subsided. While investigating local historical records, I discovered something particularly noteworthy. The recorded history of deaths at Myrtles Plantation includes at least 10 confirmed incidents of unnatural deaths on the property. 3 children and a young mother who allegedly died from poison in the 1820s. A caretaker shot on the front porch during a home invasion in 1871. A plantation owner killed by a stranger in 1884. 3 Union soldiers killed on the grounds during the Civil War. A young woman who allegedly committed suicide in the gazebo in 1924. This unusually high concentration of tragic deaths within a single property may be significant when considering theories of residual energy or trauma. Imprints that some parapsychologists associate with haunted locations. During my final night at Myrtles Plantation in 2018, I experienced something I cannot explain through conventional means. I had positioned myself in the main parlor with a digital recorder and infrared camera. At approximately 2:15 a.m., the temperature in the room dropped suddenly from 72 to 58 degrees. My breath became visible, and I experienced what I can only describe as a sensation of being watched. I'll play the audio recording from that moment. Audio recording April 19th, 2018, 2:17 a.m. Main parlor. I asked. Temperature drop noted, approximately 14 degrees. Time is 2:17 a.m. I asked. There appears to be movement near the eastern window. No visual confirmation yet. Whispering voice, barely audible. They don't know what happened. I asked. Is someone there? Can you identify yourself? Female voice, clearer. Not what they think. Not what they say. I asked. Are you Chloe? Can you tell me what really happened? Female voice, agitated. I tried to save them. I tried. I want to emphasize that I was alone in a locked building when this recording was made. The voice captured on the audio was not audible to me at the time. I discovered it only upon review of the recording the following morning. Audio forensic analysis confirms the voice does not match any known persons who had access to the property and contains frequency patterns inconsistent with normal human vocalization. The object that moved during this recording was a small silver hand mirror that had been placed on the table approximately 3 feet from my position. It moved approximately 7 inches across the table's surface. I had not touched or disturbed this object prior to the recording. In the years since my initial investigation, I've conducted follow-up interviews with subsequent guests and employees. Reports of paranormal activity continue with remarkable consistency. The woman in the green turban remains the most frequently reported apparition, followed by the